Intro. The man she can never walk away from. There's a kind of man a woman can never truly walk away from. Not because he's the most handsome or the richest, or the loudest in the room, but because something in his spirit commands respect, something in his presence brings peace, and something in his character feels eternal. Cornel West once said, "You can't lead the people if you don't love the people." And that's where it begins. Love not as a fleeting feeling, but as a responsibility, as a practice of soul. A woman never leaves a man who leads with principle. She leaves the man who wants power over her, but she stays with the man who seeks power within himself, because that kind of man cannot be replaced. He is not desperate for validation. He is not addicted to attention. He is anchored in truth and faith, and in a purpose that's bigger than his ego. And when she's with him, she feels something rare in this modern world. Safety. Not the safety of comfort, but the safety of conviction. A man like that does not chase. He attracts. He does not compete. He creates. He doesn't seek to be understood. He seeks to understand, and in his silence, there's gravity, the kind that pulls respect, love, and loyalty toward him like a magnetic field. In a world that rewards appearance over essence, this man is dangerous because he lives by essence alone. He doesn't need to shout his worth. He embodies it. And every woman who's ever truly known a man like this will tell you, he's unforgettable. This is not about manipulation. This is about mastery, emotional, mental, spiritual mastery, the kind Cornel West calls soulcraft, the craft of shaping your soul until it becomes a force of light and fire. So let's begin this journey. What kind of man will she never leave? Let's break it down, not by fantasy but by truth. The man who knows himself, Cornel West, teaches that to know yourself is to wrestle with despair and still choose hope. That's where true manhood begins, in the quiet confrontation with your own reflection. Every man wants love, but few have stood face to face with their own fear. Few have dared to ask, "Who am I?" when the applause stops. When no one is watching, a woman will never leave a man who knows himself because he cannot be shaken by her moods, her silence, or her tests. He does not define his worth by her approval, and that's exactly why she respects him. He has boundaries. He has standards. He doesn't negotiate his values just to be liked. He walks away from chaos because he understands that peace is priceless. A man like this doesn't need to prove his dominance. His discipline is proof enough. When he speaks, he doesn't speak to impress. He speaks to express truth, and when he listens fully, because his mind is not occupied with insecurity. She feels his stability not in his muscles, but in his energy. She senses that his emotions are not scattered. They are anchored. He can feel deeply without falling apart. He can love fully without losing himself. That's what makes him unforgettable. That's why she never forgets the sound of his voice or the calm of his presence. Because real masculinity doesn't scream, it radiates. It doesn't manipulate, it elevates. It doesn't chase, it chooses. When a man knows who he is, every woman he meets instantly feels the difference, because authenticity is magnetic. It cuts through games, pretenses, and emotional noise. And when she finds it, she doesn't want to let it go. You see, confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is quiet clarity. It's walking into a room not to dominate others, but to demonstrate alignment with your own truth. Cornel West would call that having moral consistency, the ability to stand firm when everything around you sways. That kind of man doesn't play the victim. He doesn't say, "Women don't respect good men." He becomes the kind of man a woman cannot disrespect. And that difference, that inner authority, is what separates the temporary from the timeless. The man who protects peace, not ego. Cornel West reminds us that justice is what love looks like in public, and peace, real peace, is what love looks like in private. A man who protects his peace is a man who's learned the hardest lesson. Not every battle deserves your energy, and not every woman deserves your vulnerability. He doesn't fight to be right. He fights to be wise. He doesn't argue to win. He listens to understand. He's not reactive. He's responsive. And that difference is everything. A woman never leaves a man who gives her emotional safety, not the kind that comes from submission or control, but the kind that comes from understanding. He doesn't try to fix her emotions. He gives them space. He doesn't mock her sensitivity. He meets it with empathy, because he knows that real strength is not loud, it's gentle. When you master your peace, you master your power. You don't let anger speak for you. You don't let ego drive your choices. You don't let temporary emotions destroy permanent connections. This man walks with patience because he knows that time always reveals truth. He's not in a rush to prove his worth, he lives it daily. And that slow, steady confidence, that's what makes a woman feel safe, seen, and valued. Because at her core, every woman longs for one thing: to trust the man she loves. And trust isn't built through control, it's built through consistency. Cornel West says, "Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. But remember, peace is what love looks like behind closed doors." When you can bring peace to your home, you've already won the only battle that matters. That's the man she never leaves. The man who protects peace more fiercely than his pride. The man who leads with purpose, not possession. Cornel West once said, "You can't lead the people unless you love the people. You can't save the people unless you serve the people." And that wisdom echoes in every healthy relationship, because a woman will never leave a man who leads with purpose, not possession. You see, leadership in love is not control. It's direction. It's vision. It's the ability to say, "Follow me." Not because you have to, but because you trust where I'm going. A man without purpose becomes dangerous, not because he's powerful, but because he's lost. He drifts from distraction to distraction, searching for validation instead of vision. He becomes reactive instead of proactive, emotional instead of intentional. And that kind of man, no matter how attractive, cannot hold her soul. But the man with purpose? He wakes up every morning with a sense of mission. He doesn't need permission to be great. He's already walking toward it. His ambition is not selfish. It's sacred. He's not trying to impress her. He's trying to inspire her. When she sees a man obsessed with growth, not gossip, with progress, not pleasure, with meaning, not manipulation, she feels safe following his lead, because she knows his power has direction. Cornel West calls it prophetic courage. It's the courage to live by principle, even when it's unpopular. The courage to stay soft in a world that rewards cruelty. The courage to protect love even when pride whispers, "Walk away." That kind of leadership cannot be faked. It cannot be copied. It can only be earned. A woman never leaves a man with purpose, because his energy reminds her of destiny. He doesn't need to dominate her path. He invites her to walk beside him. And when love is guided by purpose, not possession, it grows instead of fades. It heals instead of harms. The man who turns pain into wisdom, Cornel West says, "Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public, and tenderness is what love looks like in private." To be tender, a man must first face his pain. To be wise, he must first walk through fire. Pain for most men becomes poison. They bury it. They numb it. They drown it in noise, in work, in women, in distraction. But the wise man, and the kind she can never walk away from, doesn't run from his pain. He listens to it because pain is not the enemy, it's the teacher. It reveals where you still need healing, where your ego still bleeds, where your childhood still echoes in your adult choices. This man doesn't pretend to be perfect. He admits when he's broken. He apologizes when he's wrong. He forgives not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for peace. He's not afraid of emotional honesty. He's not ashamed of vulnerability, because he knows pretending to be unbreakable only builds walls around the heart, and walls don't protect love. They suffocate it. Cornel West often talks about tragic courage. It means living with an open heart, even when you know you might get hurt. It means refusing to let bitterness define you. It means loving again, trusting again, hoping again, because your soul is too big to be trapped in pain. A woman feels that courage. She sees it in the way he forgives without forgetting, in the way he listens without judgment, in the way he turns his past into wisdom instead of a weapon. She doesn't leave a man like that, because that man doesn't just survive life, he transforms it. He turns every heartbreak into art, every loss into a lesson, every failure into fuel. That's what makes him magnetic. He doesn't carry resentment. He carries redemption. He doesn't say, "She hurt me, so I'll hurt her back." He says, "She hurt me, so I'll heal and become better than before." And that sacred balance of strength and softness, is what every woman respects, remembers, and returns to. The man who loves with integrity, Cornel West once said, "You can't have integrity without courage, and you can't have courage without love." Those words define the man no woman ever forgets. He loves with integrity, not convenience. He doesn't say, "I love you," just to get what he wants. He says it because he means it, because he's committed to showing up for that love every day. Integrity means alignment between what you say and what you do, between what you promise and what you deliver, between your private life and your public life. A man without integrity might impress a woman temporarily, but a man with integrity earns her trust permanently. Because trust isn't built in grand gestures, it's built in quiet consistency. He doesn't flirt with temptation. He doesn't lie for comfort. He doesn't betray himself just to keep someone else happy. He stands firm in truth, because he understands that love without honesty is just illusion. When a woman feels that she can rely on your word, when she sees that you do what you say, when she feels your loyalty not in words but in action, she stops questioning your love. Cornel West calls that moral beauty. It's the kind of beauty that doesn't fade with age or appearance. It's the radiance of a soul that keeps its promises. And that's why a woman never leaves a man with integrity, because deep down every woman knows and consistency is sexier than charm. Truth is stronger than desire, and faithfulness is rarer than passion. A man with integrity becomes her peace, her grounding force, her moral compass. He's not perfect, but he's real. And realness is the one thing you can't replace. The man who inspires growth, not dependency, Cornel West often says, "Love is not about possession, it's about mutual flourishing." That single idea separates an ordinary relationship from a divine one. A woman will never leave a man who helps her grow, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Because love, when it's real, doesn't shrink you. It stretches you. It doesn't confine you. It refines you. It doesn't say, "You're mine." It says, "You're free, Gunner, but I choose you every day." The kind of man she never leaves is not the one who controls her. It's the one who cultivates her. He doesn't fear her independence. He celebrates it. He doesn't compete with her strength, he protects it. He doesn't silence her truth, he listens to it. This man knows that love isn't a cage, it's a classroom. And every argument, every challenge, every season of change is an invitation to learn something new about themselves and each other. He doesn't say, "You need to change for me." He says, "Let's evolve together." He's not afraid of her growth because he's busy growing himself. Cornel West calls this spiritual maturity. It's the ability to nurture someone's soul without needing to own it. It's the strength to guide without control, to teach without pride, to love without fear. When a woman feels that kind of love, one rooted in freedom, not fear, she doesn't feel trapped. She feels chosen, and that choice made freely and repeatedly is what makes love endure. A man like this becomes her mirror, reflecting back her best self. He reminds her of her purpose when the world confuses her. He challenges her to rise higher, not because she's weak, but because he sees the power she sometimes forgets she has. That's the kind of man she never leaves. Because he's not just a lover. He's a partner in evolution. He turns love into a shared path of becoming, and when two souls walk that road together, they don't outgrow each other. They grow toward each other. The man who lives by the soul, not the system. Cornel West said something powerful. To be human, you must learn to love truth, to love beauty, to love goodness, and to be willing to pay a price for them. And that's what separates a man she leaves from a man she never can. The man she never leaves lives by his soul, not by the system. He's not chasing trends. He's chasing truth. He's not defined by how many followers he has, but by how many people he uplifts. He's not moved by social approval. He's moved by spiritual conviction. In a world that rewards the shallow, this man lives for the substance. He's loyal to what's right even when it's unpopular. He chooses humility over hype, character over convenience, service over self-promotion. Cornel West calls that deep love. It's love that shows up in the way you treat others, in the way you handle power, in the way you forgive, in the way you speak truth even when your voice shakes. A woman can't walk away from that kind of soul, because it's not just a relationship, it's a revolution of the heart. Every moment with him feels like alignment, like purpose, like peace. He doesn't just talk about values, he lives them. He doesn't just say he loves, he embodies love. He makes her believe that love can be sacred again. That commitment can still mean something. That loyalty, honesty, and spiritual intimacy aren't outdated. They're the foundation of everything that lasts. And when she looks at him, she doesn't just see a man. She sees a mirror of her highest potential. She sees the kind of love that doesn't fade when tested. It deepens. That's the man she never leaves. The one whose life itself becomes a sermon. Not through words, but through example. Not through control, but through compassion. Not through power, but through presence. The legacy of a man. She never leaves. Cornel West reminds us. We are who we choose to be when the lights are off, when no one is watching, when the applause has died down. That's the true measure of a man. The man she never leaves isn't perfect. He's not immune to mistakes. But what sets him apart is that he learns. He takes accountability. He evolves again and again because he knows that love, like life, is a practice. He is not chasing women. He is chasing wisdom. He is not begging for validation. He is building value. He is not addicted to comfort. He is addicted to growth. And when he meets a woman who sees his soul, who recognizes that quiet strength, He doesn't lose himself trying to impress her. He simply stands as he is, and that's enough. Because when you build yourself into a man of vision, purpose, and peace, you won't have to worry about who stays or who leaves. The right woman will stay, not because you trapped her, but because your energy made her feel free. That is the paradox of power. The stronger you are in your soul, the gentler your love becomes. And that gentleness is what she remembers, what she trusts, what she never walks away from. So, brother, be that man, not the man who conquers women, but the man who conquers himself, not the man who seeks control, but the man who seeks understanding, not the man who impresses the world, but the man who inspires it. Because when your life becomes a testimony of integrity, your love becomes unforgettable. And that, as Cornel West would say, is the highest form of freedom. To love deeply, to serve humbly, and to live truthfully. That is the kind of man she will never leave.